A lesson in humility. There was once a man who had everything the world could offer. Wealth, status, and power. He was born into a life of luxury, a life most could only dream of. Everything James had, he got without effort. He didn't understand the struggle of those who worked tirelessly to make ends meet, nor did he care. For him, the world was a stage, and he was the star. People existed to serve him, to flatter him, to admire him. But there was something about James's life that always felt incomplete. He had everything, yet he was never content. There was a coldness in him, an emptiness that all the money in the world couldn't fill. He moved through life with a sense of superiority, always looking down at those who didn't share his privileges. He believed that wealth was the measure of a person's worth, and because he had it in abundance, he thought that made him better than others. As he walked through his days, James continued to treat people poorly, dismissing their concerns, belittling their ambitions, ignoring their humanity. He never understood that there was more to life than what could be bought. He didn't notice how people avoided his gaze, how they whispered behind his back. He couldn't see how his arrogance was slowly alienating him from the world. Then, one day, something changed. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It wasn't some grand gesture that hit him all at once. No, it was something much quieter, something that happened in the humblest of settings. James found himself in a small cafe one afternoon, a place far removed from the luxury he was used to. It was a simple spot where people came for their morning coffee, for conversations that didn't revolve around business deals or wealth. He wasn't accustomed to such places, but there he was, sitting among people who didn't seem to care about his name or his money. At first, he felt uncomfortable, as though he didn't belong. But there, in the midst of ordinary people, he realized that he stood out, his designer clothes, his expensive watch, his posture that screamed, "I am important." And so he did what he always did. He acted as though the world revolved around him. But as he sipped his coffee, something unusual happened. There was no flattery, no special treatment. The people around him didn't look at him in awe, they simply went about their day, as though he was just another person. He wasn't the center of their attention, and for the first time he noticed how isolating that felt. It was in that moment, as he sat there, that something stirred inside him. It wasn't a loud realization, but a quiet awakening. He wondered how many other people had felt the same way he had made them feel. He wondered if, in his pursuit of wealth and status, he had lost sight of the simple things, the kindness of a smile, the warmth of a genuine conversation, the respect of being seen as an equal rather than a superior. The days passed, and James couldn't shake the feeling that had settled inside him. It wasn't guilt, exactly. It wasn't shame. It was more of a sense of discomfort, a realization that his view of the world had been limited, distorted by his own privilege. He started to see the people around him differently. He saw them not as servants or tools to help him achieve his goals, but as individuals, each with their own stories, struggles, and worth. As time went on, James began to change. Slowly, at first, he started noticing the small, quiet acts of kindness in the world. The way a stranger would help another without expecting anything in return. The laughter shared between friends over a simple meal. He realized that wealth wasn't about money or material things. It was about connection, about respect, about seeing the humanity in everyone. He still had money, of course. But now, when he walked down the street or entered a room, he no longer carried that same arrogance. He no longer looked down on people. Instead, he looked at them with a newfound appreciation, with humility. It wasn't an overnight transformation, and there were days when old habits tried to creep back in. But James began to understand something profound, that true richness was not found in the bank, but in the heart. He learned that a person's worth was not determined by what they had, but by how they treated others, by the kindness they shared, by the respect they gave to those around them. And so, James learned the greatest lesson of all: to be humble, to be kind, and to see the value in every person, no matter their status or background. In the end, James found something far greater than wealth. He found meaning, connection, and the simple joy of treating others with the dignity they deserved. It was a lesson that stayed with him for the rest of his life. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was the richest gift he had ever received.